Greetings, programs. Welcome back to Gamification. Happy New Year! And with the new year, we have a new segment. I was last year. I was doing a lot of talking on the games, movies, news stuff about Star Wars, right? But I thought, you know what? Let's put that into another discussion segment, so I wouldn't be taking up all the time for the other news, right? So I thought I'd do reviews on the latest Star Wars content, like comics, games, and the newer movies and stuff like that. Everything up to The Last Jedi, I'm not going to do because I've either talked about that in other areas or it's just old news kind of thing, right? So I thought I'd start off with the very first thing, which is the Rise of Skywalker. I was gonna give it a review, but it was more like I just need to talk about this stuff because I've given it enough time. This is about two and a half weeks or so since the movie came out. 2 weeks since the movie came out, and first and foremost, I'll say didn't like it. And that's really weird because I love Star Wars, right? I'm all about the stories, about the characters, yeah, the action and the music and the voice actors and stuff like that for the animated shows and whatnot, like Clone Wars, Rebels, even the Resistance, even though it's very kiddie, voice acting is great in that. So to start off the new year, I thought even though I didn't like the movie, I want to talk more of the positive stuff. And if not, some things I'm just going to question, like why did they put this in or whatever. So I just want to read out because I've made a heap of like bullet points, right, on what to talk about. So yes, let's just because otherwise I'd gone forever, right, about all the negative stuff and this is stupid, that's stupid. They didn't stick to the myth. The pacing was off for me personally. What else? Some of the logical choices in the script were confusing to me. It didn't really sit well. Okay, let's just bring it all back though, because I just want to give you my first impressions and then we'll go into some of the stuff. The first time I watched it on the midnight screening, it was fun. I was like, yeah, there's some really cool fist pumping moments. Like, throw your fist in the air, go, yeah, moments, right? And the music was magnificent. John Williams, fantastic. This is some of his best stuff in the sequel trilogy. Um, because that this is big from me saying that I wasn't a big fan of the music in Last Jedi, not because it's John Williams. John Williams, fantastic, one of my favorite composers, but it felt more like of the best of the greatest hits kind of thing, right? With Luke's theme, Luke and Leia's theme, like the Force theme, Luke and Leia's theme, the song, the track from when they're going into the Death Star 2 on Endor when they're attacking the power core. That was very much the same. The Force stuff, always, you know. I know, like, Rey's theme a little bit, and also Kylo's theme, and the Jedi Steps theme. Fantastic. I love that new stuff. That was really great from The Force Awakens. And they're kind of bringing it back in The Last Jedi, but not too much. It was more about Luke and Leia, wasn't it? And Kylo. This is just my opinion. That was more their story, like the Skywalker family stuff, right? And this one was more. This one was more about Ray. Fantastic, Ray and Kylo, awesome. I really love that stuff. Uh, but for some reason, it's just I don't know the scripting, the pacing. Uh, I was just kind of sitting there going, "What's going on? This is too much to handle." They're giving us a lot of exposition, and I'm just like, okay, there's a lot to take in. Pardon me. There's a lot to take in, and why are you force feeding me so much information in the final movie, right? Like in the last, sorry, in comparison, right? Return of the Jedi was pretty much like we know or we suspect we know that Vader is Luke's father. Luke has become a Jedi. They gotta rescue Han, and there's another Jedi, right? That's all you really need to know. And the Emperor comes in. We finally see him in the flesh. And it was kind of like wrapping that up. Like, get Han, um, face Vader to become a Jedi, and the Emperor gets killed thanks to Vader slash Anakin's redemption. Excellent. That was it, right? Like, there wasn't, and there was, again, in comparison, uh, there was a lot less going on in the Return of the Jedi. It's like, okay, there's a cool action scene uh, with on the sail barge, and then you go. They have a little bit of talking to figure out the plan. Go to Endor, have a fight there, and then Luke and Vader fight on the Death Star, where Luke confronts his fear and anger and stuff like that, right? Which was all fantastic. But it was also well paced, where there was a lot of slow parts, a lot of talk, not a lot of talking, but they talked when they needed to talk. They didn't always have to be talking or yelling or running around, panting and stuff like that. And this is what I got from the Rise of Skywalker. It was a lot of running around, a lot of talking and yelling. Poe, sorry, Finn, not Poe, Finn. Um, and I don't know. It's some of the shots weren't great. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all of my problems. All right, I want to talk more of the positive stuff, the stuff that I enjoyed. Cause I've seen this movie 3 times just to really take it in, to really try and understand. I saw it the first time, wasn't a big fan. There was like something in my stomach that was like, I have a bad feeling about this, right? Saw it a second time with some friends or more casual about Star Wars than I am, and they're like, "Wow, it's awesome!" And I think I might have got caught up in their energy because I'm like, "Oh, actually, there's some really great parts in this movie." And then I thought about it a bit, and I know Twitter's a toxic place, but I went on there and talked to some mutuals that had some similar feelings, I guess you could say. And I went back and saw it again. And I know you could say, well, if you're on Twitter, it's gonna toxify you. I guess you could say that can poison you and think differently and stuff like that. But it kind of more reconfirmed what I was or it was putting into words what I was feeling from the first time I watched it. My initial reaction, and I decided, yeah, there's some really great parts in this movie. There's some really fun stuff, and if you really look for it, there's some interesting motifs, themes, and whatnot, and some really interesting stuff that was built because of the Last Jedi, not because of it, not because of itself. It's because the story, right? The story, in all regards, that yeah, JJ set up questions, but then Ryan Johnson answered them. I know I'm going to get plenty of hate for this because I know there's a lot of people that don't like the Last Jedi, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Just like I don't like the Rise of Skywalker, I'm happy that people don't like the Rise of Skywalker, the Last Jedi, for reasons. Right? There's plenty of reasons not to like it. I saw more to like in that movie in the Last Jedi than I didn't like, even though there were parts that I didn't like. And it was kind of like the flip for me for this, where there was more parts I didn't like in the Rise of Skywalker than there were that I did like. Anyway, but I actually went through it and typed it all up, and I'm like, you know what? There's actually quite a few parts in the Rise of Skywalker that are pretty good or positive in some aspects, right? So we'll kind of go through the movie, kind of in review, I guess you could say, or putting out some of the plot lines and whatnot like that. So remember, this is all spoilers, okay? So if you haven't watched the movie and you're trying to stay away from it, go, be gone. So let's get into it. So the movie opens. Okay. Uh, one complaint I had. which I feel like I need to discuss. The title crawl in a Star Wars movie is, from what I in my from my aspect, is to fill in some of the blanks between movies, right? So it's like, um, what's been happening in between the Last Jedi, and the Rise of Skywalker, right? And to me, that and you've seen that in the original trilogy in the prequels, right? They talk about, hey, there's this in the prequels in like episode 2. They fill you in. It's like, hey, there's some stuff going on. People are not happy. People want to break. So there are some planets that want to break away from the Republic, and then that kind of sets you up for what's going to happen next in the movie, right? Um, Episode 5, right? It explains that the rebels are on the run. They've been trying to find a base, but they've been hassled. And you don't really see that much until the Battle of Hoth in Empire Strikes Back. So this one starts with the dead speak, right? When I read it, it was almost like explaining the entire or the opening plot of the movie, not what's happened in between, what is going to happen in the movie. And it's almost like, well, I don't really need to see the first half of the movie, do I? This is how I took it, okay? I'm sure plenty of people are like, no, you're wrong, and that's fine. I'm wrong a lot about a lot of things. I'm not a critic. This is just how I'm seeing the movie, okay? Okay, so the movie opens up with Kylo attacking some dudes on Mustafar. It's been confirmed that reddish sky planet with the dead trees, all the trees on fire, that was Mustafar. There was some bandits or people hanging out there, living there, and Kylo's attacking with these stormtroopers. That's a really cool scene. But I had a question of why, like, they come up to this pedestal thing where there's this Sith artifact, but it has a symbol on the crate or the stone coffin thing or container, whatever you want to call it. And it's very different, well, not very different, but different symbol of the Sith than what is canonically known as the Sith symbol, right? So I'm asking, hang on, why is the Sith symbol different in this movie than we've seen in Clone Wars, Rebels, etc., right? Or the visual dictionaries. So Kylo flies off to find the Emperor because the Emperor's alive. Ian McDiarmid, I can never pronounce his name right, but Ian McDiarmid is great and plays the Emperor so well. Perfect. He's always been the Emperor, right? Like in Rebels, at the end of Rebels, he came back. He's like, no, I am the Emperor. No one else can play him except me. And I'm like, you know what? Fair point. Uh, so Rebel. Another point, which was really awesome. Uh, uh, Rebels are flying to try and find this information, like to confirm that the Emperor's back because they're scared, right? Leia sends them off. Go get the info. And one of the aliens pops down. Is like, "Hey," and the rebels like, "Hey, do you have the info?" And this puppet alien, right? He's like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. You know, I've got the info. Give it to Leia. You know, win the war." That's Mark Hamill. I really like that. I was like, as soon as I heard the voice, I'm like, Mark Hamill, awesome. He's not just Luke Skywalker. Excellent. I know he was another. He was the alien, the little alien that was putting coins into BB-8 in the Last Jedi. So I remember. Uh, okay, so this next part is cool, but it also upsets me. There's a chase with some TIE fighters, pretty much straight after. The TIE fighters are coming just as he's getting the information, right? The visuals are great. The action is high speed and powerful and awesome. It's just really wonderful, right? Looks visually stunning, like being in this space kind of asteroid town or whatever, and then flying through that into space and stuff like that. Really cool. And the Falcon goes into Lightspeed to escape. Awesome. But is that a planet? I've got a couple of questions. One, is that a planet? And two, if it is, it'll have its own gravitational field. Do gravity wells not exist in this universe anymore? But they do, because they mention later on when they have a map of a certain planet I'll get into later, that they do mention gravity wells, right? But for some reason it's conveniently forgotten in this part. So this gets me frustrated. The TIE fighters follow, and we saw that in The Last Jedi. They said, hey, they've got light speed tracking now. So, and the First Order TIE fighters have hyperdrives now, so they can't go into light speed. They're a bit bigger as well, so you can fit two pilots, I should say, into the TIE fighters, which is cool. So you stand to reason. If it can fit two people, it's larger, it can fit a hyperdrive, right? Makes sense. So they follow the Falcon into Lightspeed. Really cool. Okay, yeah, but this is another part where I was saying before, hang on a minute. Because the fact that the Falcon can lightspeed into planets' atmospheres without using a navigomputer, just lightspeed skipping as they call it, and the fact that you can't jump into lightspeed when in a planet's gravitational pull, what? I mean, they set that up in um the first movie, Star Wars: A New Hope, right? Episode 4. Han Solo says if you don't get the coordinates right, you could fly into a supernova or a planet or an asteroid field or something like that, right? They set that up in canon. This is my gripe, that they've kind of broken their own logic, right? And in Rebels, you've got the Interdictor Star Destroyers, which they have gravity well projectors, right? So they kind of pull you out of light speed because the computers think you're flying into a planet, so it will pull you out of light speed as a safety precaution. So you don't smash into a planet, right? Right? Anyway. Ray, you see Ray for the first time in the movie. Ray is in the air. She's like meditating in the air like a guru or something like that, with rocks floating around her, kind of like in a figure eight configuration. And what I saw there was like, that looks like an atom, right? Like a chemistry atom, right? Really interesting imagery there. Like she's the protons and the rocks floating around her are the electrons. I thought that was interesting. And that kind of shows. Ooh, and I think that kind of is meant to show that she's very powerful, right? But then again, it's kind of, if you look at it another way, it's enforcing this Mary Sue argument. If that is the case, I could be right. I could be just pulling it out of my butt. Great symbolism though. Really interesting imagery. I really like that. Okay. Uh, but there was also some imagery that didn't sit well with me. Why is dressed? Why is Ray dressed in white again? White. And why does she have her hair in the triple bun like she did when she was before her journey started and when she was younger, right? There's some kind of thing going on there that I've seen. Like, okay, in comparison, Luke is wearing white at the start, right? In the start of his journey. He's a pure, innocent guy, longer hair, scruffy long hair. He whines, oh, I want to go to Toshi Station, and he's wearing a white shirt, a white tunic. In Empire Strikes Back, it's dirty. It's like he wears his orange jumpsuit, obviously, but he also wears like this tan outfit, like this dirty singlet and stuff like that, right? I don't know what you call those undershirts, right? When he's training with Yoda, he's all muddy and stuff like that, and he's even more of a tan jumpsuit when he fights Vader, right? And then in the Return of the Jedi, he's wearing all black, neatly cut hair, even though it's a bowl cut, neatly cut, and nice form-fitting outfit, tunic, whatever you want to call it, and trousers. So in this one, with the Rise of Skywalker, Rey went from tannish, tan white, whatever you want to call it, to dark grey and browns, right, with her hair down. And then in The Rise of Skywalker, she's gone back to white with the buns, keeping her tomboy appearance. Almost like saying she's pure and she hasn't gone through any trials, even though that's part of the mythology. This is just my take on it, remember? That's one of the gripes. Like, it's great that, like, I think it's more of a JJ going, I really like that look. She looks good. Let's do that. Just keep it simple, stupid, right? But Star Wars is imagery. Star Wars is language without words in some cases. You know, telling us, people, letting children make up their own minds, you know, helping them self discover and stuff. Anyway, sorry, this is meant to be more positive, but I've got a lot of issues with this movie. We see Leia. That's nice. It was less of a put off by her appearance than I thought it would be. Like, I know the crayfish is gone and they used footage, old footage that they didn't use from The Force Awakens. But when you first see her in the movie and she's talking to Rey, not too bad. I wasn't like, oh, this is shit, but I wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing either, right? It was more like, oh, cool. Awesome, let's get on with the story. Rey trains with the remote and the blast shield helmet, which is really cool, like Luke did, right? But it's faster paced training, you know, faster, more intense, just like George would say. Where she runs through a forest training course, gets a red ribbon, then runs back. I thought that the red ribbon would mean more in storytelling imagery, right? In this movie, but apparently it's just kind of, I think it was cut out or something, because if I remember correctly in the trailers, she threw a lightsaber and caught it, and her wrist had the red ribbon tied up on it, right? Or on her arm or something, I can't remember. But that to me symbolized the red string of fate thing. Like, fates are connected, two people connected by fate, right? That's a Japanese imagery. I think that's West as well, but it's very Japanese, which is really cool. So the fact that they didn't really use that in the actual movie, a little disappointed if that was the case. Otherwise, it's just like, yeah, capture the flag and then come back. So while she's training and stuff like that, and she gets the red ribbon and stuff, it's the scene switches to Kylo Ren, right? And he opens up this box or container or something, and it's Darth Vader's helmet. He's still got it. His room now, instead of black like it was in The Force Awakens, in The Rise of Skywalker, is completely white now, which is really strange. I wasn't sure about the imagery. I was thinking, is that because he's turning or he's confliction or something? Not sure. I had no idea what that was about. So Kylo puts his hand on the helmet to reconnect with Rey and kind of sends visions to her, right? Which is cool. Like, you see Dark Rey for the first time and stuff like that. If you really slow it down, and there's flashes of the Sith throne and stuff like that, and Rey's getting erratic while training and trying to hit this floating remote that keeps shooting her, right? But the images like kind of almost rebound on him unintentionally, where he's replaying images of when he killed Han Solo, which is really interesting. It was really cool. He's trying to connect with Rey, but it kind of backfires on him, and it shows more of his confliction. That was an interesting scene. I didn't mind that. One gripe I have with it though is, why is Kylo still holding on to Vader's helmet, right? When in the last movie, he said, um, forget the past, kill it if you have to. No more Sith, no more Jedi, no more rebels. Join me and we can start a new order. So I'm confused as why he would still keep Vader's helmet, even though and again he smashed his own helmet because Snoke called him out for pretending to you're just I thought you'd be a new Vader, but you're just a child in a mask, right? And Kylo gets upset and smashes his helmet. Kill the past. So anyway, in the vision we see Rey's possible dark future. But the vision kind of backlashes. Yes, killing his father, how he hasn't really resolved himself over that. Yeah, even though he kind of made the choice to go dark, Kylo is still conflicted because at the very end, when you see Kylo and he's got the dice in his hands in The Last Jedi, and he's looking up at Rey, he's in this room all by himself, and that's the dark side, right? Dark side is isolation, selfishness, right? But you're at the top of the mountain, but it's lonely at the top, right? And it's very much him looking at Rey going, "Don't leave me," or "Join me," or you know what? And Rey just kind of shuts the door on him, figuratively and literally, and that kind of says that he's alone because of his choices, right? So that was interesting. This is the first 12 minutes of the movie, by the way. There's so much going on, and it's only 12 minutes into the movie. And this is what I'm talking about. The pacing was really fast, and it kind of threw me off because I'm like, hang on, you're throwing so much at me already, and it's only been 12 minutes, and I need to process this stuff. I need to process the images you just show me. I need to process the dialogue and the music that helps tell the story. But it's just gone woof, woof, woof really quickly for me. And if you like that, I appreciate that because it's more of like, yeah, it's a high-paced action movie, right? But to me, that's not all what Star Wars is. It's not just a fun movie. There are stories, there are lessons to learn. Okay, so they go back to the Rebels, the Resistance, whatever. Poe, Finn, and Chewie, and Claude for some reason. This slug character alien. I have no idea why he's on the ship. They just wanted to show a new alien, I guess. The Falcon returns to the base, where the same planet that Rey and Leia are on and stuff like that, and it's on fire. The whole thing is on fire. All of it's on fire. That was a really funny line from Poe. It's just like comes out going, "Oh boy." The new dynamic between Rey, Poe, and Finn was comforting. I like that. Like Poe and Finn arguing, going, "What the hell have you done to my ship? What have you done to my droid?" Because BB-8 got accidentally pinned under a tree that Rey cut down. Um, yeah, really great. But there was also this thing was like, hang on, does Poe and Rey have chemistry? Because you had this other movie setting up Kylo and Rey for like pretty much the whole movie, right? Having them talking and touching hands and stuff like that. Ooh. And the turbo lift scene and stuff like that, where they were really close together and whatnot, and the force bond, obviously. And then you've got this like high tension between Poe and Rey arguing and like, is this sexual attraction? What's going on here? And then Finn's just caught in the middle going, oh, you guys. So I didn't mind it, but it was still kind of like, huh? What? Even though, like, I understand it's a year later after Last Jedi, but it was still, I don't know. It was one of those things that kind of made my tummy feel weird. Okay, so they confirm that the Emperor is alive and he's going to send his Sith fleet that you see in the trailers. They're like 10,000 ships or whatever, old Star Destroyers with laser cannons on them, like giant Death Star weapons on it, right? Because we haven't seen that before. But apparently the Emperor's given them 16 hours, and he's going to attack the entire galaxy pretty much. So I'm asking, why is there another time limit? Because in the Last Jedi they had one, right, which was like 8 hours, 48 hours or something. Because that's how long you have until you run out of fuel. And then the ships will just get all destroyed and that's the end. So that made sense to me in The Last Jedi. Why 16 hours? What's the importance of that? The Sith are patient. Sidious, Palpatine, the Emperor, could have waited another 5 years to attack, or he could have attacked 10 years ago, right? So why 16 hours? And it just made me think, is this another reason just to rush through the movie? Just so they can obfuscate some issues? I don't know. Again, interesting, but these are the things. The gripes are more just like questions. And in a movie that's meant to wrap up the entire saga, and a movie that's meant to wrap up this trilogy, and meant to wrap up Rey's story, Kylo's story, and Leia's story, I guess. So many questions. So many questions for a movie that's meant to be a dot point, a what would you call it? A bullet point? No, not a bullet point. Just a sentence ender, right? A story ender on a saga, and it just kind of brings up more and more questions, issues, whatever you want to call it. And this is my problem: exposition, exposition, exposition. They're telling us all this stuff. Show, don't tell, right? This is the thing. Again, more exposition. Just to remind the audience that there is too much plot in this movie and not enough time to show things. Taking away the agency and not letting us feel smart by letting the viewers figure out things for themselves, like I said earlier. Right? Just, yeah, show, don't tell, so we can feel like we're part of this journey instead of just, bang, here it all is, in your face. Okay, another fetch quest has been brought up. They have to find. So the first fetch quest was to get the information that confirmed Palpatine is alive and he's going to attack from the First Order spy, whoever that is. Second fetch quest has been brought up. They have to find an ancient relic that will lead them to the sixth planet where Sidious is hiding. The planet is called Exegol. The object looks like a Sith holocron, right? Which is like a pyramid, a red pyramid. That's what a Sith holocron is. Holocrons, like Jedi holocrons, Sith holocrons, are like external hard drives, right? Or really high memory universal jump drives, or whatever you want to call them. But they're protected, they're locked by the Force. So Jedi holocrons can only be opened by Jedi, right? Light side Force users. Sith holocrons, the reverse, where only dark side users can open up Sith holocrons. So that's the thing, right? But this object, which they call a Sith Wayfinder, creative, right? It finds the way to the objective. They use the same object shape, right? It's a pyramid shape. Like, I know Sith temples are pyramids where the Jedi is more square structure but with spires, right? But you see the Sith temples are more like pyramids, just like the Egyptians, right? Um, so there's this thing in canon. It's just a mix in canon. It's like, well, you've got Sith holocrons. Why wouldn't you just use that instead of this Sith Wayfinder? And there's only two apparently. When they're leaving to go find it, the gang, like Poe, Finn, Chewie, BB-8, C-3PO, and Rey, um, Rose, like, he's like, hey, you coming along, Rose? No, she's apparently not allowed to come because she has to go over Star Destroyer specifications, right? So just in case they have to fight Star Destroyers. I'm like, don't you know how to fight Star Destroyers? Because A, Leia's fought in the rebellion. B, there's pirates that fought in the rebellion that fought against Star Destroyers, and C, you fought against the resistance that fought against the dreadnought, which is like a super Star Destroyer in itself, right? So more questions, and they sidelined Rose. That's a problem because they had such a big character for her in the Last Jedi. Even though she doesn't have like a character progression, it was more of just she's the Jiminy Cricket on Finn's shoulder, so to speak, and trying to help him through that, which is really interesting. That was really cool. But no, she's not in this movie apparently. So they kind of kick her out and say, "Oh, you want to come? Sorry, can't. Okay, see ya." And that's Finn and Rose talking. I'm like, wow, you guys really built up a relationship. I'm sorry, this was meant to be positive. I keep getting sidelined. Later on, Kylo comes in and talks to his moffs, I guess you could call them, or the higher Imperial officers in this meeting room. Really cool. Oh, Kylo Ren fixed his helmet. No real reason, just because, you know? And they make a weird mention to it, just like, oh, did you notice my helmet? Yep, okay, cool. Wasn't necessary. But anyway, he comes into his offices, very much like the Death Star scene where Moff Tarkin and Vader come in and talk about how, oh, we're going to bring glory to the Empire and stuff like that. Very similar scene. Anyway, Kylo comes into. Oh yeah, the Knights of Ren appear as well. And they pretty much just walk in, dragging mud into the Star Destroyer, and there's some stormtroopers go, Kylo, the Knights of Ren. Cool. And that pretty much sums up the entirety of the Knights of Ren in this movie. Knights of Ren. Cool. They showed up. The scene with First Order High Council, MOFs, whatever you want to call them, I'm not sure about how the power structure in the First Order works at the moment. I'll have to look into that. They're chatting about the state of things, and yeah, it reminded me of the first. But General Pride, or General, what is it, like General Legent Pride or something like that? I can't remember. Mentioning how Starkiller Base was a mistake. Uh, that reminds me of arguments Thrawn would make about how more ships would be better than one giant space station. That was interesting. That was really cool, especially because the rumors that was like, oh, is this guy? I can't remember his name. I can't remember the actor's name. But is he going to be Thrawn? That was a really hilarious rumor. But that's that comment that he made. It's like Starkiller Base was a mistake. The all these new Sith Star Destroyers will help enhance our resources 10,000 fold and stuff like that. Really cool. I like that moment. And one guy there was like, "Oh, these Sith. Who do they think they are? You know, these soothsayers, these sorcerers." Rah. He's just talking shit. Like he doesn't trust him, and fair enough. You know, they're kind of outsiders. For some reason, the First Order didn't know about them. Okay, even though the First Order was built up from the remnants of the Empire that escaped into the unknown regions. So shouldn't there have been some connection there that they knew they had backup reserves in the unknown regions? But apparently not. Okay. So this one guy's talking, he's like, rah, can't trust him. And Kylo Ren just, like, throws him up into the air, because, like, Force choking, like, ugh, and then throws him up and keeps him up on the ceiling kind of thing. Really cool. Remind me of Darth Vader. But also the impatience, like, oh, shut up, you know, thing. Remind me of Han Solo as well. So that was really cool. C3PO was great. Great humor in this movie. He got a heap of dialogue. Some felt a little forced, and he was a little out of character. Barely anything. You could barely notice it. But for me, he always seemed like the worrying parent, right? He's like, oh dear, what are we gonna do? You know, oh, this is a catastrophe. You know, he's just running around, God, the world, we're doomed. The sky's falling. The sky's falling. But this is more. It was just in a couple of scenes where it's like, great shot, sir, bad shot, sir, and stuff like that. It was kind of, it irked me the tiniest bit. This is just me, you know, being pedantic, right? But otherwise, fantastic. He was cool, and you saw him move, like actually climb steps and stuff, which was really cool. Okay, so they go into this desert persona, right? Forbidden desert persona. There's a whole colony of people there, and they're having a festival. Oh, this was something that it was stupid. Stupid is like, oh, the Aki Aki festival that only happens every 42 years. That was very fourth wall breaking, you know? I didn't appreciate that because I'm like, really? It's been 42 years since A New Hope came out. Wow. Right on the nose there, hey, 3PO? Okay. Righto. Yes, but apparently, even though it's a forbidden desert, that. Okay, so there's some children laughing at this little play thing where they're like, "Bah, bah," like talking, you know, those political things that like propaganda plays that they did with little puppets, and they like bash people over the head. It was very much like that. And there's kids laughing and watching and stuff like that. And Ray's looking at them, and she's got this like wistful smile on her face. Really nice, really sweet. And the music swells with a heartwarming kind of sun. It made you feel like sunshine. Really cute. Daisy really fantastic. But so she's smiling at the kids laughing and being all joyful and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, oh, cool. Uh, Personally, because I'm a bit of a Raylo shipper, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not into a huge heap, but I listen to some podcasts and stuff, and I'm mainly here for the fan art, right? Fan art, Raylo fan art is fantastic. Anyway, so you get a sense of where I'm coming when she looks at the children, has a wistful smile, and I'm like, oh, she's getting a little bit of a maternal instincts, right? That's just natural. It's a bit of oxytocin or whatever. But some people say on Twitter and stuff like, oh, she's thinking back to her childhood or something like that. Well, and I'm like, okay, that could be the case. That's interesting. But it's also like she was left on the desert planet to work as a scavenger, which is almost like slavery because she's being paid in just food, right? She can't get off planet. She has no money, and so she's pretty much almost a slave in some aspects. So why would she look back at her childhood with fond memories when, right? More questions. So I'm getting the maternal instinct thing from watching this, watching Ray watch this child laughing and stuff like that, having a good time. Okay, so I'm thinking there's going to be more about this whole Ray and Ben relationship stuff that might maybe they get a happy ending at the end. Who knows? I wasn't crossing my fingers for it, but I'm like, okay, I can see that happening. Let's see how the story progresses, right? Because they're really throwing a lot at me. Okay. So she gets given a necklace. Okay, cool. They reinforce. Hey, what's your last name? I don't have one. I'm just Ray. And I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. That's fantastic. Because I really like that Ray from Nowhere thing. Okay. But I'm also like, why are they talking about this when they kind of established in the first movie she's Ray from Nowhere, and in the second movie, in the Last Jedi, they're like, you're from nowhere, you're no one, you know, but not to me, right? More questions, more questions, more questions, more questions. Ray and Kylo rebond again. You know, turn on the Force Skype or whatever, and they start talking. when you see Kylo in this shot, it's really awkward because he's like it's like a wide shot almost. No, it's a mid shot, but also a wide shot. It's somewhere in between, and he's off to the left, which was really I'm like, why is he just standing here there like that, and why are they showing more of the background than necessary? More questions. Okay, so Kylo's talking to Ray, and Ray's like, rah rah rah, I don't like you, kind of thing. You're a mean man, and whatnot. And Kylo's like, I offered you my hand once, and you wanted to take it. Why didn't you? And then Ray's going on about, oh, I can see the cracks in your mask. You're haunted by what you did to your father. I'm like, why are you still bringing that up when you've kind of gone past that and you've killed people together? You know, the Praetorian Guards and Snoke and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, you're going back to the Force Awakens stuff. You're kind of trying to ignore stuff from the Last Jedi because you didn't agree, JJ didn't agree with it or something. I don't know. Chris Terrio didn't agree with it. Chris Terrio was one of the writers or the writer on Dawn of Justice, Batman vs Superman, right? Just so you know. And just so I think this is part of the why I found that out after I watched the movie. I'm like, makes sense because questions, right? And leaps of logic that just kind of like, hang on. Okay, so they're talking, and then Kyle's like, I'll find you, and I want you to take my hand and join me and stuff like that. And he grabs at this necklace that was given to Ray, right? And he actually pulls it through the bond. You know, and I'm like, awesome. That builds on something from The Last Jedi where they were talking. He was in the ship and the supremacy or whatever, and Ray's on Octo, and they're talking, and it's raining where she is. And when they cut the bond, um, Kylo gets water off his face. Right, you see droplets of water on his gloved hand, and I'm like, oh my god, that actually did pay off. Awesome. Wow, they actually paid something off from The Last Jedi. Really cool. Kylo's talking to someone like, get my ship or something like that. And he points like this, or like this, right? And I'm like, okay, Vader points like that sometimes as well. It's like, do not fail me again, or something like that, right? But I saw it as quiet, you know? Shush, do as I command, Harrison Ford style, Han Solo style, right? So there goes into the conflict stuff. So I'm like, interesting, okay. Even though he put his mask back on, there is still remnants of Ben Solo in him. I thought that was really interesting. In Persona, you see Lando, and he comes up to help them for a bit and tells them who to find, who had a clue to find this Wayfinder, right? He was like a Sith hunter or something, like an Inquisitor, right? Classic Lando. He's just like, Chewie, yeah, buddy. That was really cool. There was another humorous part I remember, another little joke where they're like, "Hey, uh, we don't want to stick out because there's stormtroopers around here or something like that. They patrol around here, even though it's a forbidden planet. Why is there stormtroopers hanging around?" But they're walking through this big mob of people that are celebrating, and Chewie's following them. He just looks around and goes, and then kind of like crouches. Really cute. Classic. So that was good. The humor in this movie is actually pretty good. A couple of jokes fell flat for me, but other times I'm like, awesome, great, yeah. So there's a chase scene with some skiffs, and stormtroopers on these like kind of doom buggy dirt bike things, really cool. And so the chase scene's great, really fun, high action, music's great, it makes you pumping and whatnot. And another cool thing was the stormtrooper bikes, right? They flip up at the back, which like catapults almost. They launch the other stormtroopers that have jetpacks on. And one of the jokes was, "They fly now? They fly now? They fly now." Didn't like that much, but okay, because we've seen flying stormtroopers before in Rebels, right? And Clone Wars and stuff like that. They've had jetpacks. Mandalorians that were originally, like Boba Fett was originally a stormtrooper super commando, had a jetpack, right? So anyway, that's a really fun, exciting scene. They fall into a pit where Finn's gonna confess. He's like, "Oh no, I'm dying, Ray. I never told you," and then falls down. I took that as he was going to confess his feelings for her. I never told you I loved you, right? Or I never told you I cared about you in a romantic sense or whatnot. I'm like, okay. But they never bring it up again. They fall down and conveniently fall into this pit, like this cave, I guess you could call it, tunnels, where you find the clue to find the Wayfinder, which is written on this dagger that was conveniently by this uh, Sith Inquisitor's speeder that had the Sith symbol on it, like a Mercedes Benz little hood ornament thing, right? Stupid. Uh, some nice humor with 3PO, like Poe's like, "Finn, Ray, where are you?" And 3PO's like, "You didn't call for me, but I'm okay too." 3PO is talking, and Poe's like really giving him some attitude. Right, like, oh, no, I didn't ask you for the odds or whatever it was, or I didn't ask you for any information. I'm like, does Poe not like droids, even though he loves BB-8 as his own pet? So that really confused me. Or was it just 3PO? How long has 3PO been annoying Poe for, right? That's another question. So many questions. Okay, so in the tunnel, Serpent appears. Poe wants to shoot it, but Rey heals it using the Force. She transfers life energy or like midichlorian energy or something like that. You can put into that. The living force, you can call that into it to repair physical damage. We see that in the Mandalorian with Baby Yoda. Spoilers, sorry. And it's been in other video games and stuff like that. You meditate. It's been in the Legends books and stuff. Like Luke gets hurt, he like goes away. Like I remember with the battle with Darth Sidus, however you want to pronounce it, aka Jason Solo. He got really hurt in a fight to save his son Ben, and he like bruises and cracked ribs and stuff like that, punctured lung or something like that. And he goes away and kind of meditates and focuses his energies on healing. And like within a week, he's pretty much healed up, right? So it's been in Legends and in canon and in video games and stuff like that. So it's not out of the blue to show something like that. So I really appreciate that. And a gripe I had with this movie, there's quite a few shots that are hard to actually view. Like I couldn't see what was going on in a lot of it because the sets have like really low lighting or barely any lighting at all, right? So there's the tunnels, it's hard to see. They didn't put any like camera lighting on. It was just pretty much the lightsabers or torches or whatnot, flashlights. And like when you're on Exegol and you see the Emperor and Kylo's talking to him at the start, it's all a lot of lightning flashes, and that's it. Like it's just almost like everything's in shadow, and only the quick lightning flashes highlight the faces and stuff like that, and then disappear like right. So I had some problems. Like sometimes I'm like, I can't see. Kylo comes down with the Knights of Ren. The Knights of Ren are just kind of tracking these guys apparently, but not really doing anything. They're just standing around, looking all cool, mysterious and brooding and whatnot. But Kylo comes. You see that scene in the trailer with he's in his shipwright. Rey jumps over him, cuts one of his wings off, and he crashes. But he comes out fine without a scratch because he was wearing his helmet. And Rey's there, and Chewie's been captured. Uh, Finn's yelling at her, going, "Ah, Chewie! They got Chewie!" He does a lot of yelling in this movie for some reason. So the ship's flying off, and this is a really cool part. I really appreciate that. Rey uses the Force to capture it, right? To try and pull it down. Really cool. Very Force Unleashed. Very Vader-esque as well, you know. Very, she's powerful in the Force, obviously. Light, darkness rises, light to meet it. And then Kylo comes up to her, and then does the same thing. It uses the Force to kind of. It's almost like a uh, what's that game where you tug of war, right? It's pretty much just a tug of war where one's trying to fight against the other to pull the ship, and Ray like gets really frustrated looking at Kylo and stuff like that. Gets really frustrated and like yells out, gives into her emotions, and lightning spurts from her fingers. I'm like, awesome! This is so cool. She's actually like in not accepting her dark power because there is darkness within her. She's always been very aggressive. Like even in The Force Awakens, you see her. She's very aggressive, and she pretty much takes down Kylo. Right? There's other mitigating factors, obviously, but she straight up cuts through his chest. I guess his shoulder, up his neck, and across his face. Right? She was prepared to kill him in The Force Awakens, but so this is just kind of like an evolution to that I saw, right? It's just like, oh, she used her emotions and used lightning. That's fine. We see Dooku use it as well as Palpatine, obviously. Um, in The Force Awakens, the Sith apprentice uses lightning. That's one of his main powers. Um, I'm just trying to think of any other people. Like in Legends stuff, people use lightning all the time. Like Darksiders use lightning all the time, right? Knights of the Old Republic, they use lightning. The Old Republic game in the cinematics, they use lightning. So this is just like an extension of that. I'm like, okay, cool. She can use lightning. But I talked to some of my casual friends, right? My casual uh, Star Wars fan friends, and they're like, she's a Palpatine. Instantly, they knew because of the lightning. I'm like, interesting. Like, okay, that's uh, a fan theory we've been talking about, and I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see that happening because she's so powerful. Her fighting style, even though she was never really trained. So that was a fan theory that's been going around Reddit, Twitter, and all that, and Instagram, I guess, as well. That yeah, Rey is Palpatine. Okay, we'll see how it goes. But I was just surprised. I wasn't surprised. I was just interested. I'm like, huh, that they instantly go to she's a Palpatine just because of the Force lightning. Like abilities don't define who you are. So anyway, awesome, cool. She's lightning, blew up the ship. Chewie's dead. Oh shit! They're not gonna kill off Chewie like that. But it was crazy to think that. Oh my god, this person who's meant to be so good accidentally gave in and lost control and killed a friend of hers, Killed Chewbacca, who's over 200 years old. Oh, really cool. And in the explosion, Cole was like, oh, fuck. Ray runs away. Really awesome. She runs away with the gang and they fly up. Where do they fly? Oh, they fly off they go into hyperspace. So they get to the ship, which Ray seems to find familiar, and if you look back, it's the ship from her vision where it's flying off, and little Ray is just going, "Come back!" And that's a ship with that had her parents on it or whatever. Uh, but she doesn't figure that out till later. She's like, "Oh, that ship! That's what it was from." But so they take that ship and fly off. They BB-8 finds this old droid and activates it. It's Dio. It's just like a one wheel thing with a cone head, whatever. And Ray goes to pet it, and it backs away like, no, don't touch me. I don't trust people, kind of thing. Seems like it was abused or something. I think Ray even says that. Oh, I think it's been treated bad. So that was interesting. It's like, oh wow, droids actually feel that way. Okay, cool. And people are like, oh, it's so cute. I'm like, it's got nothing on Baby Yoda. So, but yeah, it's okay. Voiced by J.J. Abrams. Dio, and it speaks like English or basic, but it's just like one word replies and whatnot. Okay, cool. The symbolism in that was BB-8 reviving Dio plays into something later as well. So they go to this planet called Kijimi that Poe doesn't really want to go to, but there's some black market people that can work with droids there to unlock some information, some Sith information from his memory that was on this blade that they found, the fetch quest item. So they go there and meet this character, or they're sneaking around Kijimi, and you see a lot of stormtroopers cracking down civilians, like bashing down doors and interrogating people. And there's like the woman going, "Please, please, don't hurt us," and stuff like that. And stormtroopers just patrolling in like big groups and stuff like that. And these other troopers that kind of have like these cloaks on. So I'm thinking, are they kind of like the SS or something like that? We'll have to see. And then they meet this character called Zori Bliss, with you see with the helmet on. She doesn't really take it off or anything, but she used to run around with Poe back in the day as spice smugglers or spice dealers, whatever. For those of you who don't know, spice is kind of like coke, right? Cocaine or meth, I believe, as well. Glitter stem spice, it's like meth. I could be wrong. I think I'm fairly certain it's coke because they usually snort it. Anyway, so that was the thing. It was like, oh, Poe's meant to be a good guy. He's meant to be leader of the resistance and whatnot. He used to be a criminal, even though in canon books he worked for the New Republic Navy, right? He was a fighter in the next in the with his X-wing in the New Republic Navy before he joined Leia in the Resistance. So I'm like, hang on, where does this tie up? And how is this? Is this before or after he joins um the Resistance? Like, was he a Navy pilot and then he became a spice runner and then he joined the Resistance, or was he a spice runner, then New Republic Navy, then because that's weird because Poe's mum and dad fought in the rebellion. He was born on Yavin 4, and was trained by Wedge Antilles at the Flight Academy, the New Republic Flight Academy. So at the the New Republic Navy Academy, I guess. So what the heck? And because there's more questions. Did JJ and Criterio even check with the story group? So the Stormtroopers cracking down on Kijimi was a great show of what's the state of the galaxy right now? How are people being affected by the First Order taking over everything after they destroyed the Hosnian system? So that was interesting. They go into this room where Zori helps him out or something, and you see a bartender there with a cybernetic lens for an eye, like a camera lens for an eye. It's John Williams. He's just cleaning glass. He looks up at 3PO. He's like, ugh, and it keeps on cleaning his glass. I'm like, I see you, buddy. So I like that. I like how Ray has empathy for droids. Like before she went to pat Dio, right? And it's like, oh, I feel bad for him. He's been hurt. He's been hurt before. And 3PO is getting this procedure done that was gonna reveal the secrets that the Sith writing on the dagger was, but it's gonna wipe out the rest of his memory. So instead of going, yeah, let's do it, she actually talks to 3PO and goes, you know the odds better than anyone. What do you think? And he kind of looks at her, and I really appreciate that. Like Ray treats droids just like people, which is really nice. And that goes into how like when 3PO was first established in episode 4, it's like just act like a person, but a bit more cold and robotic and whatnot. but still just act like a person, so you can connect with the droids just as much as you can with the human actors. So that's cool. Um, Poe says a line earlier, like when they're after a persona or something. He says, "If we fail, it was all for nothing. All we've done all this time, right?" And then when it's like 3PO is about to get his memory removed and then erased, and Ray says, "What are the odds?" And then 3PO says this line, a repeat line, saying, "If this mission fails, it was all for nothing. All we've done all this time, right?" And I'm like, why would he repeat a line? And especially a line that's meant to. It's like he's about to pretty much die. His existence is about to go. And he's like, I've got to take one last look at my friends and stuff like that, right? You see that from the trailer. And it's kind of takes away from him repeating this. Yeah, it takes away from the feeling the scene's trying to emit to me, where it's like, where's the urgency? Where's the saying goodbye to an old character, right? An OT character, when he's just repeating something that they already said. And that really stuck out to me. I'm like, when I first saw it, the first time I watched it, I'm like, is he just repeating the line that Poe said earlier? What? So it doesn't feel very original. It doesn't feel very heartfelt, you know. And yeah, it just I don't know. I didn't like that, and I didn't feel like I was really saying goodbye to 3PO. Zori and Poe have a quiet moment to talk outside. But the it's quite nice actually. I didn't mind it. It was more. It's like a remember the old days kind of thing, and she talks about like in the first order snatching kids and programming them and stuff like that, and how it affects the families and whatnot. And the First Order's got a Skywalker in the background just hammering down on people, right? It was a nice moment, and she kind of removes her visor so you actually see her eyes and connect with her as a character, audience to character moment, which is nice. And another shout out I like to call out. They use in this moment where Poe's talking about, no one came at the Battle of Cray and whatnot. Um, I'm just trying to think. Sorry, let me check my notes. Yeah, they use the Camino track from Attack of the Clones in this music. So I can't remember how it goes. Like, anyway, so that was really interesting. I'm like, not interesting choice of music there. But something about the dialogue felt like something just out of one of those one-shot action movies. It felt like okay, they had a past, and then maybe they might have something in the future. Who knows? But it's not really part of this story. It's more of a throwaway lines, and I just felt like okay, do I need to care about this stuff? I felt some of this could have been taken out of the movie. Like it was almost not necessary. It was more to enforce the stealing of children, the oppression and stuff like that. But we kind of saw that in Force Awakens when they say, yes, we take children and we pretty much reprogram them so they serve the First Order. So I didn't feel like this was really necessary. Uh, okay. So while the First Order is attacking, uh, Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren go down to Kijimi, right? And once again, the Knights of Ren are just kind of standing around looking all spooky and mysterious. And Kylo's like, alright, everyone look around. Meanwhile, oh yeah, sorry, I skipped. 3PO got his memory erased. They found the clue, whatever, the translation. And what was the translation? 3PO said, oh yeah, go the other wayfinders in the Death Star in the Endor system on the Death Star ruins. That's it. And I'm like, hang on, that was only, 30 years ago? Why would an ancient artifact with ancient Sith writing have the location written on the dagger? Like, wasn't that Sith Inquisitor trying to look for a clue? More questions. More questions. Okay, so the rebels fly up right onto Kylo Ren's ship, and they sneak in and they go and find Chewie because Chewie's alive. Yay! Oh, we already knew that. But Rey senses it. She's like, "Oh my god, Chewie's alive!" So they fly up, go to the ship, go in and go to find Chewie, but they split up. Rey goes off to find the dagger because she's like, I have a feeling we might need this. To me, it felt very much like Finn's like, why do we need the dagger? And she's like, because reasons. And then goes off and then sneaks into Kylo Ren's room, to have a little looky-loo. Gets the dagger and Chewie's guns and stuff like that. One thing I did like about that too, where there's Vader's helmet, and then there's Chewie's ammo belt and like his bandolier and his bowcaster and stuff like that, and the dagger. Like, Kylo's actually put these items in an important place, a place of like reverence and stuff like that. So that was really cool. But then, so Kylo's on the planet, Rey's up on the ship. It's been swapped around. So Kylo connects with Rey, and he says he knows Rey's truth. But she gets really aggressive and angry, and she says she doesn't want to hear it. And they have a fight, lightsaber fight, even though it's through the bond and they're smashing shit. That was a really good fight. And they have a chat and whatnot. During the fight, the helmet gets fall on the ground, and Kylo's able to see it because it's on like this middle ground almost of their force bond. It's like in the no man's land almost, you could call it. So he sees like, oh, that's where you are. Wait there, I'll come find you and tell you the rest. So Chewie, Finn and Poe get captured by a Legion general. And like, execute them. And then he goes off, and Hux sticks around. Is like, I'll do this myself. Which I saw it a mile away, right? Where I was like, oh, if he's going to do it himself, he's going to do something opposite of what he was meant to be doing. And it was very much like in The Last Jedi. It's like, okay, guns up. Actually, you know what? Let's get the execution squad. Delay this even more. And so they've got these laser axe things. And I'm like, okay, why are you delaying this even more? Anyway, Hux shoots the stormtroopers. He turns around and he says this, I'm the spy. And Poe and Finn's reaction was fantastic because it blew my mind as well. I had the same reaction. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And yeah, it was kind of humorous, but I was just like, it was also really dumb and cheesy. I'm like, oh, come on, It was a bit of an eye roller. And unfortunately, Hux is a bit of a throwaway character in this movie. Like, he kind of had an important role in the Force Awakens, right, where he was like a morale booster, and he was kind of like the face of the First Order and stuff like that. And then in The Last Jedi, it was more behind the scenes, conniving, a rabid cur, and he had this almost political conflict. Sorry, political prestige conflict with Kylo Ren, where they were always trying to one up each other. That was very Vader and some of the Moths and stuff like that. I didn't mind that. That was cool. But in this, it was just kind of always second fiddle, even third fiddle. It was just disappointing. Although the reveal was humorous, albeit largely telegraphed. That's like what I was saying before. Yeah. So Kylo's in the docking bay, and he meets Ray. Like this is like real face to face stuff. He's takes off his helmet and stuff like that. And no, he's got his helmet on still, I think. And he's talking, and the stormtroopers surrounding them. They're trying to escape, and he's like, "You have power, right?" Sorry. The Emperor was trying to kill Rey because she's a threat, right? She's a Jedi, but apparently it's something else. And she's like, why did the Emperor kill my parents, right? Why is he trying to kill me? And as a child, why did he try to kill me as a child? And Kylo's like, because you have power. You have his power. You're a Palpatine. And I'm like, I roll my eyes here because not that she's a Palpatine. Like, okay, that's pretty interesting, and I had something similar. Well, I had a similar theory to do with the bloodline stuff, but it was more of a she was a Sith alchemy experiment with Sidious's blood, Anakin's blood, right, to make a powerful vessel for his body to inhabit, because his other vessel, his regular body, is degraded because of his powerful dark side energies, right? So that was my thought. It was like she was an alchemical experiment to make a better body, but apparently she is his granddaughter, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, okay. Like if you're saying, yeah, you're the granddaughter of the emperor, okay, cool. That sounds more palatable. No pun intended. Um, but yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to think. But the fact that he says you're a Palpatine, a little bit cringeworthy. Uh, who is writing the script? The reveal itself is kind of interesting, but also fanficky. Like, that's what I'm saying before. It's like, okay, this is a Reddit theory. This is a Twitter theory, right? This is fan theory. Rey is only powerful because of an old guy, and not because of her own power. You know, like in Last Year, I said, darkness rises, light to meet it. Balance, right? But this is still balance. Is like Kylo's darkness, her light, but now she's got this darkness and fear inside it because of her relationship to Palpatine, and it throws that out of balance. Inside the Star Destroyer, Kylo and Star Destroyer, all the lights are blue. In the other ones, like if you see the pill lights, they're usually white, but in this one, blue, making everything darker, harder to see. So I'm like, why are they doing this? What? Who made the choice to make everything so damn dark? This is the third movie, right? This is meant to be the culmination. This is meant to be the uplifting of hope and the happy ending kind of part of the tale. Coming into the light after the dream world, the underworld, right? Out of the Campbellian monomyth, but no, it's still dark. They're dealing with Rey's fear and darkness, like they should have done. Like she had like conflict and stuff and this is not going to go the way you think, right? In Last Jedi, like her expectations were challenged, and then this was more about her internal struggle. There's just so much going on in this movie. There's so much to tell and not enough time to tell it. I also said that I don't think JJ understands the importance of the offering the hand moment. Um, for example, I took this from What the Force. So if you want a better explanation, go check out that podcast on YouTube, What the Force. They this they go into the myth a lot more about Star Wars and storytelling and whatnot. They go into the music and the characterizations and their developments and how it ties into other stories and stuff like that. But from what I got from one conversation they had, um, the first time in the Last Jedi when Kylo offers his hand saying "Join me," right? That was meant to be um considered as a proposal, right? Almost like a proposal of marriage, like join our families together, kind of thing. And but it's meant to fail. And then, but then the next time, right? The next time he tries, it's because he's gone through the growth from sorry, yeah, Pride and Prejudice. What's her name? Not Emily, Amelia, no, Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, right? Darcy proposes marriage, but he does the bad way of doing it, right? So he's like, marry me, I'll give you all the money and stuff like that, I'll help your family out of destitute and whatnot. And she's like, no, I want to marry for love and whatnot. And I'm like, okay. So this is the comparison I'm setting with The Last Jedi, Kylo and Rey, right? Where, sorry, I'm shouting now. Where he proposes, he says, join me. She says, no, I'm heading off. They snap the lightsaber and she nicks off and then closes the door on him at the end. But the in this movie, he does again almost exactly the same. Like there hasn't been much change. He's wearing the mask. Oh no, he took off the mask to like talk to it face to face, but it's more he's still dark, right? He hasn't gone through that change. He hasn't come to that realization that this is not what she wants. And especially like earlier on when he's trying to tell her about when Kylo's trying to tell Rey about her lineage, and she's like, "I don't want this." And so when they're in the Star Destroyer, um, docking bay, and he puts out his hand again to say, "Join me." Um, kind of just repeating what they did in the Last Jedi. That wasn't an evolution of that. That wasn't any growth or anything. That wasn't the realization of, oh, that's not what she wants. She wants love, right? So that scene almost felt completely unnecessary. Not the whole scene, just that putting out the hand moment. Because, like with Pride and Prejudice, the second time he puts out the hand to say, I want to marry you," it's because it's not he doesn't want to possess her. He wants to stand by her. He wants to be a partner with her, right? Okay, yeah, it's a poor way of trying to explain this relationship and the the progression of that, but that's how I saw it. Yeah, so Hux comes in on the cane. He's got showing the leg to make it look like the rebels escaped, right? Um, and he tells the Legion General Pride, and the general's like, "Oh, is that so?" Takes a blaster, shoots Hux. That's the end of Hux, right? And the Legion General's like, "Tell them I found the spy." And to me, that's very Imperial, right? And especially because he's an old Imperial who's dealt with this kind of thing before. It makes sense that he's just kind of like, you know what, I don't have time for this shit. I'm too old. Let's get this over with. The First Order is kind of a joke. Like all these new kids think they know what they're doing, and I've gone through all this stuff, so I don't have time to waste on pettiness and infighting. I just got a job to do. So that felt very much natural to me. They get to the Endor system and they crash land for some reason. I don't know why, and then they're trying to find the way to find the wayfinder. I guess I don't know. And they run. Or some people come up on these horse things called Allbacks, and they're like, "Hey, we intercepted a transmission by this guy called Bubba Frick," and then 3PO goes, "Bubba Frick? Well, he's one of my oldest friends," because his memory's been erased, right? So that was a really funny moment. Let's see what else are good moments. When Rey reaches the Death Star 2 throne room, you know, the throne room from Return of the Jedi. Like she's climbing all over the place, like she did in the Star Destroyer in the Force Awakens. So that was cool. She climbs up, and just as she's coming over the edge, Vader's Anakin's death music comes up, which is like that piano version of uh, the Imperial March, like the really slow version. If you go back to Return of the Jedi and Anakin Vader, he's got his helmet off, and he's like, "Tell your sister you were right," and he pretty much dies, and Luke's like crying with his hand, and he's just going, "Father, I won't leave you." That music, that's the one that starts up when Rey gets to the throne room. So I really like that. I discovered that the first time I listened to it. I'm like, ah, cool, cool. I loved it. John Williams. When, yeah. So Finn's like, oh shit, because they went over some really rough ocean water or something like that. Finn's panicking because Rey's like, I'm gonna kill the Emperor, right, for killing my parents. And Finn's like, no, that's not you. And she's like, shut up, you don't know me. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So she runs off to the Death Star too, right? By herself, because she likes to run off a lot on her friends in this movie. And Finn's just like, I gotta go find her, I gotta go chase her, right? And I felt that Finn chasing and yelling after Rey almost seems like he doesn't trust her to take care of herself or make her own decisions. Though to argue that, I understand that she's kind of like in this angry, upset state, and Finn's probably like, well, she's getting pretty emotional. She's probably letting her emotions cloud her judgment, right? But he's pretty much, for some reason, he's like really determined to get to her. Um, which I didn't really understand. Like, I know they're friends, but he hasn't really shown much support for the rest of the movie until now, right? Yeah, so that was interesting. So Rey has a vision and fights like her dark side self. Why does her dark side self have pointy teeth? More questions. But she finds the Wayfinder. But as she finds the Wayfinder, it falls out. And oh god, that dark race scene was almost completely unnecessary. Right? It was very much. Look, so Dark Ray says, don't be afraid of who you are, right? Don't be afraid of you being a Palpatine. But it was also happened like that. It was a very quick scene, and you could have almost cut that and be the same. Kylo Ren's there without his helmet. He's on the in the throne room too, and he's like, if you want to get to Exegol, the only way is through me. Breaks it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then they fight. So this part I really liked. The whole fight on the Death Star 2 runs. Especially the part where Finn comes over, he's like, Ray! And she just lashes out at him, like uses force to going, get no! Like, stay away, get away from me, kind of thing. I really liked that. That show like she's scared of her power for the first time ever, which was really interesting. They fight. Leia feels the conflict or whatever, and either senses that Rey is going dark and tries to reach them, or reaches out to her son one last time because. Like she does that thing that Luke does, but not with a mental image, like a projected image. It's just her spirit reaching out across the stars. Um, she goes bang and then kind of dies, but her body doesn't disappear right away. I'm like, huh, okay. So Kylo hesitates and steps back because he's been owning this fight the whole time, like defending most of the time, which is really interesting. Because the Jedi uses his knowledge for uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack. Though he does attack now and then, but it's more like he's not trying to kill her. He's never been trying to kill her. Even when she turns around, like she pretty much ignores Kylo, turns around, uses Force push on Finn. Um, he stops. He doesn't try and slash her down or anything. So that was really interesting. And then he pretty much just defends and defends until she's worn out, and then he overpowers her. Loses himself a little bit, then pulls back when he feels his mum dying, right? He feels Leia becoming one with the Force. And he stops, he hesitates. He drops his saber, and then Rey picks it up and then turns around and stabs him in the chest, like in the abdomen, right? Giving into her anger, right? Giving into her emotions. Really cool. I like that. And then she feels Leia die, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And that pulls her back. Really cool. Reminded me a little bit of Luke and Vader in the throne room, so that was cool. Like, Luke's like hammering away, giving into his anger, and then he's about to kill Vader, and Vader's kind of like got his hands up like that, and Pally's like, "Good, good, do it." And Luke goes, "Shit, no, I'm not going to do it." But at the time when she felt her master die, Leia, who helped train her within the last year, she pulled back and realized, "Oh no, what have I done?" She's pretty much almost killed this guy who's kind of been an important part of her life for the last year and a half or so. So she actually gets down and heals him the same way as she did the snake, pouring force, life energy, living force into him and healing his wound. And then you see that big scar on his face that gets healed too. She heals Ben. She stabs Kylo Ren, kills him, brings Ben back up. The way I saw it with the Leia thing, because people were probably like, "Oh, that's stupid." I saw it as, like how Ray said earlier, I see the cracks in your mask. Leia saw the cracks in his heart, and like, just imagine his heart's the door. Like, Ben's heart is a door, has closed off his heart to make himself Kylo Ren. Leia used her force bond with him, her energy, her essence, whatever, her love, to crack that door open and bring Ben back into the light. And then, but not all the way. Like, she cracked the door open, but then Rey healed him to bring him into the light, I guess you could say. That's one way of saying it. That's probably wrong and not what the writers are thinking, but that's just how I saw it. Anyway, Rey's like sitting next to him, sad moment kind of thing. Puts his lightsaber down. And she says, "I did want to take your hand. Ben's hand. Not Kylo's, Ben's hand." And that was really to me, because it was very much like Last Jedi, where he's like, "Join. We can make a new order. Join me." And she's like, "Don't do this, Ben." Right? She calls him Ben, not Kylo, right? Or except for in Force Awakens or whatever. And the Star Wars, yeah. But and then she leaves on Kylo Ren's ship. TIE Silencer or something like that. Something like that. TIE Whisperer. That was really cool. And then in the Resistance base, it's revealed, like, so yeah, Leia's dead, and then Chewie finds out, and he just goes, "No!" Just kind of emotionally wrecked, and he's like, people trying to comfort him, he's like, "No, get away," kind of thing. Really cool. Great moment by Chewie. Great moment by Jonas Sotamo. And yeah, just so good, so good. Chewie's lost so many people. I feel so sorry for him. Lost Han, lost Luke, lost Leia. Oh, ah. And then, as he's crying out, this is a really great moment. I love this. You see Ben standing on the wreckage of the Death Star, looking out into the ocean, and the echoes of Chewie's cry still emanates to him from there. Like he can feel Chewie's pain through the Force, and that was really cool. And then, hey kid, fuck, this moment was really good. Han Solo, like a memory of Han Solo, like the Han Solo in Ben's heart, right? Um, appears before him, almost like saying, "Here's your choice. I'm giving you that choice again. I'm presenting that choice before you. This is your chance to do the right thing this time." Sorry, I'm got a bit nasally. I'm a little bit emotional, but I'm also just a bit nasally today. And he says, "Yeah, your son is dead." They have the same moment from The Force Awakens. Your son is dead. No, my son's alive. Kylo Ren is dead. I think I mixed that up, but that was really cool. And then they have a moment, and he's holding the lightsaber, and Han puts his hand on Ben's face and stuff like that. He goes, uh, can't remember what he says, but like, it's just a really impactful moment. There's music swelling and stuff like that, and Ben's almost in tears. He goes, "Dad." He calls him Dad because in Force Awakens he just calls him Han Solo, right? But he calls him Dad, and he can't get the rest of the words out. He's a bit choked up, and Han goes, "I know." Shit. This moment got me. This moment. Because it reminds me of this moment from Legend of Korra, and I suggest people watch at least Avatar The Last Airbender, because that's got some really good Star Wars stuff. Especially the redemption and atonement of a bad guy that turns good.
Not now, Tenzin. I just want to be left alone.
But you called me here.
Aang.
You have finally connected with your spiritual self.
How?
When we hit our lowest point, we are open to the greatest change.
Yeah, so all that Death Star 2 stuff, great, fantastic, awesome, really, really cool. So we find Ray on Octo, and she's like burning the ship. She's throwing wood on the ship. She's destroying it, and she's crying and stuff like that. She's got a hood up to show either she's trying to hide away or it's her white virginal, um, the Virgin Mary kind of outfit. I don't know. JJ, what are you doing, man? These costume language designs are terrible. So she's burning up Kylo's ship so she can't escape. She's running away, she's hiding. And she's about to throw the lightsaber away into the fire. And then Force Ghost Luke catches it, really cool. He goes, "What are you doing? You know, lightsaber deserves more respect. You know, same as everyone said in episode 2. It's like this weapon is your life. You know, you got to take care of it. So really good. And he was saying, yeah, I was wrong to hide away. You know, I let fear control me. Don't let fear control you. Fighting fear is the destiny of the Jedi. And that was the lesson he learned in the last movie. I don't know why people say it was retconning the Last Jedi, because like the start of the movie, he's like, "No, go away, leave me alone. I don't want to be bothered. I'm gonna let the Jedi die." But at the end of the movie, he reconnects with Leia. He reconnects with Yoda, and Yoda's like, "Failure is one of the most important parts of learning." You know, failure, the greatest teacher is, and that was this is part of it. He's like, yeah, I learned my lesson. I've come back and I'm being a Jedi. And then he goes back into the Force, and that's how he helps. And which is great. I mean, like him saying to Rey, because Rey's like, I'm gonna do what you do. I'm hiding away. I'm gonna stop this forever, kind of thing. And he's like, I was wrong. And I can admit I'm wrong. I had to learn this lesson. You came and helped me teach. You came and helped me learn this lesson. So it made sense to me. It was actually really cool. But God, by the Force, Luke's hairpiece in this movie, it was just like, it was ridiculous. It was like, who did the makeup to make his hair that damn long? It was terrible. It was like a hair extensions that they didn't try and modify. Really stupid. They mentioned that Leia was trained as a Jedi, and that irked me. Because in the canon novel Bloodline, Leia mentioned she didn't want to follow the Jedi path. Because Leia's talents aligned more with politics and stuff. So she's like, I'm going to use the Force in that way to help people the way I know how to help. Which is interesting. And also, she doesn't want that connection with Vader. Right? She never saw Vader as her father. She didn't really accept that he got redeemed. She's like, okay, that's good for you, Luke. He tortured me, you know? He killed my family, my entire planet, my culture, my race. He destroyed all that, so I can't really forgive him for that. And it comes up later in Bloodline where it gets out, because she kept it secret. It gets out that she is the daughter of Vader, and that kind of ruins a heap of her political career and helps the First Order rise, and people start to accept the First Order, and that's how she's like, shit, I've got to start the Resistance. So there's that, and it also kind of takes away from her own power, right? From her own importance. It's like almost saying you're only as powerful as you are because of Luke, right? In the Force, at least, right? And that's the same with Rey. You're only as powerful in the Force as you are because of Palpatine. That's some real dark union stuff there. Yeah, I don't like that. Though it does explain how she could do the Leia Poppins stuff in Last Jedi. I don't like calling it that, but I know a lot of people understand that moment by calling it that. I just say, hey, that's zero gravity for you. You know, there is no air, so it doesn't. It looks more natural. Yeah. So the rebels, the resistance are planning an attack. But Dominic Monaghan, I don't know why he's in this movie. He's just here for the fan fiction, really. From what I've seen, because at the start when they're like, "Oh, Palpatine's back," he's like, "Cloning, dark science, only things the Sith knew." I'm like, how do you know that? I mean, the Sith legends and the Sith lore is pretty kept secret, right? Like Palpatine hoarded his knowledge. The fact that Dominic Monaghan knows all this stuff, I don't know his actual character's name. Uh, it just seems silly. And then he's like, when they're playing this attack on Exegol, or trying to get ready for it, He's like, oh, we need to get some holdout maneuvers going. I'm like, no. The fact that they call it a holdout maneuver, that's just a fourth wall breaking thing again. Alright? That's a fandom made term. That's something that was on Reddit, on Twitter, whatever. Uh, it, Holdo sacrificed herself for the many, you know, to save the resistance, to save hope. And to diminish that by, in the movie, by calling it a holdout maneuver and just saying, yeah, let's just sacrifice people. Let's just throw ships and resources into these Star Destroyers. Like, I get that feels like, oh no, that's just 1 in a million shot, but still. And then they use it at the end of the movie anyway. You don't actually see the scene, but it's just kind of like the Star Destroyer is being cut through, the same effect that Holdo did with the Radis. Okay, so Rey arrives on Exegol, meets the Emperor. He wants his body to be destroyed in a ritual so he can possess her body, because Rey has his blood in her veins. That's how I took it, right? As in, he can't possess regular bodies, he has to have something to do with his blood. It's one of the more believable parts in this movie that's full of questions. Before she does, like, she's like, okay, I'll do it to save all my friends because the fleet's coming in and they're getting attacked and shit, everything's going to shit. So she's like, okay, I'll let you, the Sith spirit, enter me, because that's pretty much what he is. He's a Sith spirit, kind of in a corpse. That's why his body's so degraded and stuff like that. And he's blind, which is really cool. So he's almost kind of like a living Horcrux, almost like Voldemort in the Philosopher's Stone when he's possessing. He's still just a spirit. He doesn't have a body of his own, but he possesses another body, and just kind of hides in there while the body's owner kind of it's still alive and walking around and doing its shit. Okay, so she gets the lightsaber up, is ready, and he's like, "Oh, she'll take me down in her anger." But before she does, Ben rushes in, being all cool. He's just got like this long sleeve shirt on that looks cool, black. And he comes in. Unfortunately, he doesn't really speak for the rest of his screen time, which is a shame. They didn't really give him much words after he became Ben Solo again. They connect. Yeah. So Ben's fighting the Knights around, getting his butt kicked. He connects with Rey, and Rey's like, "Oh, you came for me. How sweet." And it wasn't exactly like that. It was more like this tiniest little bit of a smile, like so she wouldn't give away that he's there, kind of thing. And using the Force Bomb, because you've seen like the necklace thing and fighting and stuff like that, you can actually pass objects through the Force Bond. She raises her lightsaber, puts it behind her back to get ready to strike, and then magic. Ben pulls it out the other side. He's like, hey, teleportation. But it only really works for those two, I guess. They connect, and Rey passes the saber through the bond to Ben, where he fights the Knights of Ren. He's all like swagger and stuff now. He's got more Han-isms in him now, so that's really cool. I like that. While Rey gets Leia's lightsaber, because Leia has a lightsaber. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, sorry. She that was on Ahch-To. And Rey fights the Sith Royal Guards. So they kill the guards and they raise their lightsabers up together, like, yeah, we're going to take you down. Palpatine just force telekinesis, force grabs him, and then gets shocked by something. And he starts healing. And I'm like, what? Apparently, because they're died in the Force, which means they've got a strong bond. They're married, pretty much, in meta terms. that bond heals him somehow. So he's like, ah, change my mind. I'll switch from body absorption to life absorption. Like, no, sorry, body possession to life absorption. And I'm like, wow, he's really broken down now. He doesn't plan. He can't see the future anymore, can he? Yeah, so he steals life energy from their bond they share to heal himself. The two create the one. So that was really cool. So everyone's fighting up in space. Poe's like, shit, everyone's dying. Snap died, which was sad. Sorry, oops. And he's like, shit, I'm sorry, guys, but I think this is the end. I tried. And then Lando in the Falcon comes and brings a shit ton of ships out to back them all up. Big cruisers, fighters, and stuff like that. It was a really cool moment. It was like da 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 da. Like, yeah, the heroes, the cavalry's come to save the day. Except, and this is another a man. Like, I get it. It was cool, but how come Lando has the pull, the clout, you would say, to get all these ships together, right, to help the resistance when Leia called out, the head of the resistance, the symbol of hope, right? She called out to sympathetic allies, and no one came. No one arrived when she called, but when Lando goes and gets them, yeah, sure, we'll all come and fight. It takes away from Leia's importance. It takes away from her standing. And it's almost like, I don't know. I do like, though, that Wedge makes an appearance. Wedge Antilles. He's on the gunner's seat in the Falcon, and the Falcon's flying through, and he's like, woo, doo-doo! Nice flying, Lando! And that's it. You never see him again. But it was great that, sorry, I'm looking for something. But it was great that he appeared. I was like, yeah! Okay, so the Emperor's all healed up, right? And starts, like, he sits on his throne and is like, I am the true Emperor, no one can beat me, kind of thing. And shoots lightning into the sky. The roof's opened up in his temple, whatever. And he's shooting lightning into the sky and hits all the fighters and stuff. He's like, yeah, you think you won? Bang. And it was really cool because sound effect here was almost like a sonic boom. It was like went really quiet and then bang, almost like the seismic charges from episode 2 was like really silent, went bong. So it was very much like that. So I was like whoosh, and it was like I call it super lightning, right? Because it was just like ridiculously powerful and it went all over the atmosphere, kind of thing, into the sky, and it was hitting all resistant ships and stuff like that, shooting them out. So I really like that. Um, Ray turns over and she looks up into the pillar of lightning, right? I guess you could call it. And I really liked this where she looks into it and kind of lets her mind travel up it, into the sky, into the void, into the force, kind of thing. And she uses that to help meditate into the force on a cosmic level and connect with some of the Jedi that have been before. Uh, just like in the Star movie where she's saying, "Be with me, be with me." Um, she does that now. She's like, "Be with me." She connects her spirit through the lightning into the Force, kind of thing. Like lets it ascend. It's not like becoming a Force ghost, but kind of like setting her spirit free or something. Some kind of metaphor like that. So she gets up the Jedi spirits are like raised right. You could do it. You're never alone and all that. Oh, I should mention that Ben's been thrown away somewhere down a pit, which was sad. Okay, yeah, so she's rising, they're all supporting her. You hear Hayden Christensen's Anakin's voice, you hear Kanan from Rebels, you hear Ahsoka from Clone Wars, you hear Ben Kenobi saying, "These are your last steps, take them, rise and take them." Uh, Liam Neeson's Qui-Gon was in it too, really cool. So there's Adigalia, Luminara, and stuff like that. There's some, yeah, so there's some Jedi from the prequels, Jedi from the original trilogy. Oh yeah, and at the end, Luke says, "Ray of the Force will be with you always." Really cool. So she rises, and Palpatine shoots lightning at her, and she blocks it with her lightsaber. Okay, cool. I thought it would be more impactful if she just used her hands to block, just like Yoda did, or because she's a Palpatine, she could absorb that lightning and redirect it back at him or something. Especially with all the Jedi spirits supporting her, that would bolster her power or something. But okay, that's fine. It's another callback to the prequels where Palpatine uses and Obi-Wan uses his lightsaber to block it. And Palpatine's going, "I am all the Sith, like all the Sith's power, all the dark side power resides within me." And then she says, "I am all the Jedi." I get that. Because of the spirits, like all the spirits are with her, they're supporting her. It's not like just about power, it's about the many versus the one kind of thing, you know? Isolation will make you weaker. But I thought it would have worked better if Ben got the other lightsaber and blocked the lightning with Rey. You know, as I was saying, working together, strong alone, stronger together, right? And that would have been more interesting. And that'd be help with the redemption of the Skywalkers, where they fucked up the galaxy. Now they're making it right again. I know you could say that Anakin did that, but with Palpatine not really dying, it almost takes away from it. So with Ben finishing it, helping to finish it with Rey by his side, that's part of that marriage thing that I was talking about earlier too, where the second time, the second proposal, it's more of about being a partnership instead of like a dominating force. So I thought that would have worked better, but still cool. She's got the two sabers and it's making her blocking ability stronger. Okay, working together to fight he who stands alone. Yeah, and especially because that was the whole thing about the Jedi in the prequels, right? Where there was a heap of it. There was like thousands of Jedi Knights, and Palpatine couldn't kill them all himself one by one, right? That's why he had Order 66 to get troopers to kill the Jedi, so he wouldn't have to deal with so many, right? Because the Jedi fight together. That's their strength. Okay, so after the lightning, she reflects it back onto Palpatine. Palpatine, like, pretty much corrodes and dies. But the force of that, and there was like a big explosion, and rocks were ripping and killing acolytes and stuff like that. But Rey dies. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That was interesting. But then you see Ben claw out of the pit, which was really cool. So apparently, if you fall down in pits, you don't die. Palpatine falls down the pit, doesn't die. Ben falls down the pit, doesn't die. Boba Fett? Mm, his armor is being used on Tatooine by a sheriff. Uh, so Ben picks her up and is like holding her and is like sad and stuff like that, and then he um heals her the same way she healed him, like Rey healed him. So I really love this stuff. It's more about that learning from each other, just like they did in Force Awakens, right? Where their minds connected when he was interrogating her. She learned how to learn mind trick and force pull and all that stuff, all the basics. and he learnt he could see her dreams, her memories, and stuff like that, force visions and whatnot. And that's the thing where they like if one learns ability, the other learns it too. The darkness rises, lights to meet, and light to meet it, kind of thing. And balancing the force. Just as Ray learned abilities from when they first met Kylo Ren learned abilities from Ray, died in the Force. Yeah. But transferring that because she was dead, like she had white eyes and everything. So Ray was dead, and he transferred his living Force energy into her, his spirit, his soul, his life essence, really. All that energy he put into her. And Ray wakes up and they have a moment where Ray's like, "Oh my god, Ben, it's you. You saved me. You've brought me back into the light and whatnot." So I like that, and then the kiss, awesome. I like that. That was quite moving. Ben smiles. That was really nice. And he's like, yes, happiness. He's not alone, kind of thing. And then he dies, which is understandable. Like, there's a whole the standard redemption thing. Like, Vader died because he killed a lot of people. But so and the transferring life energy, makes sense that he died. But also, I have issues with it. Like, they could have done a real good atonement story, right, where he and Rey go off together to either rebuild the Jedi or work on themselves, on their point of view, learn more about the Force and the galaxy and stuff like that. But I just have to learn to accept that. Like I was saying before, Avatar: The Last Airbender does a really good redemption and atonement story where the bad guy, he's kind of has that internal turmoil and stuff like that, like who he's destined to be versus who, like his idea of who he must be. Same as Kylo, right? Or same as Ben. It's like he thinks he should be Vader, right? A better Vader. But his destiny is to be Ben, to be light, and find love and meaning and stuff like that. And Ray's just and Daisy's kind of non plus about it. Like not Daisy, Ray's being so non-plus about it after he dies. I'm like, you have this strong bond, right? Wouldn't you want to continue going through that journey together? But anyway, back at base, everyone is celebrating, and Chewie gets a medal. Not his though. He's already got one in canon. But he gets Han's that Leia had when she died. She was holding it in her hands. It's still a good moment, and especially for casual fans that like, hey, why didn't Chewie ever get a medal? And in the very first movie, Star Wars, you see, you're like, yeah, finally, he got a medal. Janna, one of the ex-stormtroopers, defected stormtroopers that was working with Finn in this movie, even though Rose could have been in this movie more. She starts talking to Lando. So like, oh, where are you from, mister? Finn, Poe, and Rey have a big hug. It's nice. The music here works well. Oh my god, I completely forgot. The X-Wing Rising scene. So Rey's on Ahch-To, and she learns the lesson and stuff like that, and goes to go back. She's like, I can't get out. I've destroyed the ship. And Luke says, yeah, you have everything you need. Gets a wayfinder from Kylo's ship, because Kylo got it from the start of the movie. And then Luke uses the Force, because he's a Force ghost, sorry, this hand. And he raises his old X-Wing from the water. Even though one of his X-Foils, one of his wings, was torn off to use as a front door for his house, for his hut. Questions. But it's really cool to see him do that because, and then it plays Yoda's music as well. So it's like, yeah, he finally got to do it, even though he couldn't do it in Empire Strikes Back. And Rey's using the X-wing to fly around, so like that's how she got to Exegol, and that's how she got back to the base. So they all come back and they're hugging and smiling and all beat up and whatnot. It's really nice. The music was good here. It works well. Rey returns to This is the epilogue. Rey returns to Tatooine to bury Anakin's and Leia's lightsabers. Luke's lightsaber is still on Octo. Okay, I get it, but why? Why is Leia's lightsaber there? Because she has no attachment to Tatooine, except she saved. Besides her saving Han there and murdering a Hutt, right? She actually tapped into the dark side for like the first time when she chain choked Jabba out, right? So it's not really great memories of that place for her. Why would they bury her lightsaber there? Usually you bury someone's effects or their remains in a place that will be well remembered. Anakin wanted to leave Tatooine, right? He didn't want to be there. He hated Tatooine. He never really went back because it's bad memories of his mum dying. Luke didn't want to be there because it's so far out of the galaxy, you know? He wanted to get out of there. He's like, oh, it's a whole other season. He didn't really like being on Tatooine either. So, again, why would you bury the lightsabers there? Oh, because of nostalgia? Okay. Anyway. Yeah, so I like the colour of Rey's lightsabers, like an orangey, yellowish kind of colour from what I've seen. But I thought it would have been her actual staff, not just a hilt, right? But apparently it's, yeah, she just made it from the old Jedi text. Some old lady's hanging out near the abandoned homestead. She's like, it's been so long. Who are you? Unknown reasons she's there. And she asked specifically, was like, what's your name? Rey. What's your last name? I'm like, come on, are we going over this again? They're really pushing it on you. Rey looks over and sees the Force Ghost of Leia and Luke, and they're both in white. And I'm like, okay. Are you? And then I'm thinking, wait, is Rey looking at them like her parents? Even though we discovered that her parents actually did love her and tried to hide away from Palpatine, and B, Luke and Leia are not married. They're not mother and father. They're brother and sister, right? So that's weird. But she looks over at the Force Ghosts of Luke and Leia, and then she says, Skywalker. I'm Rey Skywalker. And then they have the twin sons thing and the end. She's by herself with BB-8 and it's kind of like walking off into the sunset. Honestly, John Williams, his music might have saved a lot of this movie because there was so many. It distracted a lot of the issues that I had. And yeah, I've got a lot more issues than what I've mentioned. But yeah, it's a fun movie. But again, didn't like it. It was not. It kind of went against the myth, the the Joseph Campbell myth, not the. It was more of an American monomyth, where it's like, okay, you've done your adventure, go off into the sunset and do it all again. Now I've talked about it, I feel a lot better. But I've still got this tension. I'm out of balance. But that's it. Guys, if you've stuck around this long, and my god, it's been long, thank you. Thank you for sticking around. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie. I'd really like to hear from you, even if you think no, you're an idiot, you're wrong. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you, discuss it. You know, hit me up on any of my channels. Yeah. So in summary, uh, fun movie, action packed, gets lost in a lot of the dialogue. Gets the plot's a mess. Music's fantastic. Some really great moments, but a lot of that was because of Last Jedi. To me, in my opinion. And the rest of it was just like it was almost like a movie by itself and wasn't really written as part of a trilogy in some aspects. The tone, for example, I feel it was, yeah, just, and Sidious didn't even really need to be in the movie. It was fantastic that Ian McDiarmid came back for it, but it was almost like, why are you here? Like, you could just have the First Order, right? A lot of problems. I've still got like 2 pages of issues, but I won't go into that. I know it was a bit of a downer. I was trying to make it positive, but I was just like, the more I went into it, I was like, oh. But I appreciate you guys sticking around. Anyway, guys, until the next Star Wars rant, thank you. Have a good week.
I have spoken.